So help me God, all right? Today's Israelites are the Bantu on the continent of Africa. They were sold into slavery throughout the Americas, the Caribbean, even as far as India and Iraq and Iran.
From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants, even the daughter of my dispersed, shall bring mine offering.
In that day shalt thou not be ashamed for all thy doings, wherein thou hast transgressed against me. For then I will take away out of the midst of thee them that rejoice in thy pride. And thou shalt no more be haughty because of my holy mountain. I will also leave in the midst of thee an afflicted and poor people, and they shall trust in the name of the Lord. The remnant of Israel shall not do iniquity, nor speak lies, neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth, for they shall feed and lie down, and none shall make them afraid.
Sing, O daughter of Zion, shout, O Israel, be glad and rejoice with all the heart, O daughter of Jerusalem. The Lord hath taken away thy judgments, he hath cast out thine enemy. The King of Israel, even the Lord, is in the midst of thee. Thou shalt not see evil any more. In that day it shall be said to Jerusalem,
Fear thou not,
and to Zion,
let not thine hands be slack.
The Lord thy God in the midst of thee is mighty. He will save, he will rejoice over thee with joy. He will rest in his love. He will joy over thee with singing.
I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly, who are of thee, to whom the reproach of it was a burden. Behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict thee, and I will save her that halteth, and gather her that was driven out. And I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. At that time will I bring you again, even in the time that I gather you. For I will make you a name and a praise among all people of the earth when I turn back your captivity before your eyes, saith the Lord.
If someone were to guess as to what event had most greatly impacted sub-Saharan African demography in the past 2,000 years, they'd probably state the slave trade or European colonization. However, long before the Europeans or Middle Easterners or Chinese had visited the continent of Africa, major changes were taking place. The people of sub-Saharan Africa are divided into a few major groups, but the largest of which would definitely be the Bantu peoples, a loose conglomeration of nations stretching from Cameroon to Mozambique. But this, of course, was not always the case, and the rise of the Bantu people is a fascinating but generally unknown subject to many Westerners. The Bantu languages today are a branch of the Niger-Congo language family, a truly massive grouping that also takes up most of West Africa, and I will admit that I've been guilty of incorrectly lumping them together in the past. However, the Bantu are definitely distinct for a number of reasons, and today we're going to discuss the expansion of the Bantu throughout Africa and the various empires and modern-day nations that have descended from this event. The Jin migrated from Taiwan, but who exactly were the native peoples of this region of Africa before the arrival of the Bantus? There were many diverse groups in Central, Southern, and East Africa when the Bantus arrived, and although the exact distribution of peoples is not entirely clear, Central Africa was mostly inhabited by Pygmy peoples, most of Southern and East Africa by the Khoisan, and the Nilotes inhabited parts of East Africa as well. The Pygmy people are noteworthy for their extremely small stature when compared to other Africans, with various Pygmy groups still existing in the interior of the Congo, although they no longer retain their original language, instead speaking Bantu languages with a large amount of influence from the pre-Bantu Pygmy languages, and even to this day the average Pygmy is less than 4'10". The Khoisan have inhabited southern Africa for a mind-boggling amount of time, with some estimating that they've been in the Kalahari Desert for well over 100,000 years, and they are genetically and physically very distinct from Bantus and other Africans. The Khoisan still exist on the southern tip of Africa near the Cape of Good Hope, and some language isolates in East Africa have been classified as Khoisan, although their inclusion is dubious and requires further analysis. The Nilotic peoples possibly inhabited the majority of modern Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, although they're still in great abundance in South Sudan and parts of the previous three. They're notable for having nearly pitch-black skin, as well as being some of the tallest people in the world. As I've mentioned in previous videos, the average Nilote is over 6'1", giving a stark contrast to the neighboring Pygmy people of the Congo. Now, the Bantu expansion did not entirely eliminate these people from existence. As I've mentioned, they still do exist in pockets and regions in modern Bantu territory, and additionally, it was very common for the incoming Bantus to mix with these various groups during their march southeast, and hence many Bantu may have significant admixture from the previous peoples. For instance, in South Africa, the Xhosa people, I hope I'm saying that right, a Bantu group most closely related to the Zulu, have on average 30% Khoisan admixture, and many from Kenya and Uganda might also have Nilotic admixture, and additionally some might even have Cushitic admixture from the neighboring Horn of Africa. The Bantu established many empires and kingdoms along the way of their expanse, including the Congo Kingdom, the Empire of Great Zimbabwe, and possibly most famously the Zulu Kingdom, one of the last independent African kingdoms to be annexed by a European power. There are currently 20 countries with the Bantu majority in Africa today, with around 300 to 600 individual Bantu ethnic groups and languages throughout these countries, and I'm going to name all of them for you right now in alphabetical order. No, I'm just kidding, but let's go ahead and talk about some of the more noteworthy groups in the continent, and since many of these countries don't have an ethnic or linguistic census, it is a little difficult to determine the exact distribution of people, with the area being one of the most linguistically diverse in the world. Because some languages may be mutually intelligible with each other, they may or may not be considered the same ethnic group. For instance, in Rwanda and Burundi in East Africa, the dominant language is Rwanda-Rundi, spoken by some 20 million people. However, the major groups in both countries are the Hutus and Tutsis, both of which speak a dialect of Rwanda-Rundi, yet are considered two very distinct peoples. Some of the groups with a more concrete identity are the Xhosa and Zulu of South Africa, who number around 8 and 12 million people respectively, along with 10 million Shona people in Zimbabwe and Mozambique. Also, keep in mind that because of the borders of the colonial era, many ethnic groups might be spread across multiple countries, while other groups that were previously at odds with each other might have been boxed into the same territory, leading to a bit of a conundrum for the modern people of these countries. The Swahili coast in East Africa has been greatly influenced by many different outside powers, being the only Bantu region where the dominant religion is Islam. Arab traders had been visiting the Swahili coast for well over 1,000 years, and even ancient Greek and Chinese cartographers were aware of its existence. After the death of Muhammad in the 7th century, many merchants and traders from Arabia, Oman, and the Hadramaut settled in this region, and the resulting trade language became known as Swahili, which is fundamentally a Bantu language, however is occasionally written in the Arabic script, especially in Zanzibar and the Comoros Islands, and has a significant number of loanwords from Arabic, and to a lesser extent Persian. Swahili has since become the lingua franca of East Africa, and although the number of people that can be classified as ethnically Swahili is only a few million, the majority of Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda have learned Swahili as a second language, numbering close to 80 million people, making it by far the most extensively spoken Bantu language. It would take around 2,000 years for the Bantu to finally reach the edges of the continent after their great trek through the jungles of the Congo, with many historians estimating that the Bantu people may have reached the southern coast of South Africa a mere 1,500 years ago, although the Cape was generally only inhabited by Khoisan peoples at the time of European contact. However, this was not the end for Bantu expansion, as there are many people with full or partial Bantu ancestry outside of this region of Africa. There is, of course, the huge African diaspora in the Americas, mostly in the United States, the Caribbean, and Brazil, although only around 20% of the Black American genome is of Bantu origin, and similar percentages for the Afro-Caribbean people in English-speaking countries, seeing how most of the slaves brought to North America were from West Africa, not Central Africa. However, a much higher proportion of Black Brazilians' DNA is of Bantu origin rather than West African, as many of the slaves that were brought to Brazil, which was a Portuguese colony, were from Angola or Mozambique, which were also Portuguese colonies. There are also moderate numbers of Africans descended from Bantu slaves around the Persian Gulf, such as in southern Iran, Iraq, and Oman, who were brought to the region in the 8th century AD by the Abbasid Caliphate from East Africa, as well as a small community in Karnataka and Gujarat in India known as Setis. Although they do not speak a Bantu language, virtually the entire population of Madagascar off the coast of Southeast Africa have Bantu DNA from Africans that migrated to the island and mixed with Austronesians from Southeast Asia, as well as Arab, Portuguese, Chinese, and Indian traders to a lesser extent. And the Malagasy language, which is decidedly Austronesian in origin, has a large amount of influence from Bantu languages. Additionally, the small island nations of Mauritius, Reunion, and Seychelles in the Indian Ocean also have large mixed-race populations, mostly of Bantu stock, and the Chagosians from the island of Chagos, now known as the British Indian Ocean Territory, are also of partial Bantu origin. Although the largest genetic contribution to the South African Cape Coloureds is of Khoisan stock, a significant amount of their DNA is from Bantu sources, as well as the other mixed-race groups in the area. There's also a growing diaspora of more recent immigrants from Bantu countries all around the world, as well as internal migration within the region of Bantu inhabitants, with there being an especially large influx into South Africa from neighboring countries in recent years. Overall, Bantu peoples total over 400 million people, about 40% of the continent of Africa, and 6% of the human species, making up an extremely vast and diverse assortment of people, stretching from many areas of the African continent and many countries.
I met her day before yesterday. So Josephine, I'm here in Uganda for the first time. To me, it's very beautiful.
Yeah,
and
it's a beautiful country.
It is.
Yeah.
It's much more beautiful than the land of Israel. I went to Israel, and I must say Uganda does look better.
Wow, thank
See,
you.
it's shocking. So now, I notice a lot of different ethnic groups here in Uganda.
Yeah.
Which ethnic group do you belong to?
I belong to the Bantu.
Bantu. Bantu. You see there?
Yeah.
So now, I notice some of the people, like I notice a lot of security,
Yeah.
come from a different tribe.
Yeah.
And what tribe do they generally come from?
Most of them come from the Nilotics. That's the Nilotics.
Nilotics?
Yeah. It's from the north.
From the
Uganda.
north of Uganda. Like I
Yes.
just met a brother named Steven, he's from the north. And you know what? If she was in America, you would not know that she was from Uganda. You would think she's a black American.
Thank you.
You would. So thank you, Josephine.
welcome.
I appreciate
You're
your help
welcome.
and everything. She's been a blessing to us. So thank you.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Hey, Israel, I'm here again with my friend Guy.
That we have many ethnic groups here in Uganda. Very, very many of them. Even I don't tell the number, but there are very many.
What are the differences?
The differences, you can differentiate them according to their appearance. How do they look? Skin color. We have some from we call them Hamites. They are very dark.
Talk like me?
More than you.
More than me?
Yeah, that's
okay.
right. Those are Hamites.
Okay.
Hamites. Mainly they are from northern Uganda. We have Nilo Hamites. They are all the same.
Nilo Hamites?
Yeah, we have here in Uganda we have like 4 different types of them, and we have the Bantus. So here in Uganda they are categorized in 3 groups: Nilotics, Hamites, and Bantus.
Okay, explain those 3 groups to us, because I don't know.
The Nilotics and the Hamites, they look alike, even their culture. But the Bantus, even the way they behave, it's all the same. Yeah, that's it. So the Bantus, okay, about the Bantus, even the way they behave. Yeah.
So the Bantu tribes, those would be more or less the Israelites.
Yeah, the Israelites.
Okay, you're from one of the Bantu tribes.
I'm from Baganda.
Okay. Where?
Baganda.
Baganda.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, sisters, if you saw him in America, would you know that he's from Uganda? You wouldn't know. You'd think he was a black American, because we have that similar look. So continue, enlighten us.
About
The 3 groups.
The 3 groups. I think the bad luck is we don't have any right now. I cannot see any Hamites or any Nilotics. But okay, we have the security guards there.
Yes.
Some of them they are Nilotics, so Nilo Hamites and the Hamites.
We interviewed one named Steven over there.
Stephen. Yeah.
Yes.
So those they are very dark. Hope you saw him. He's very, very dark.
Yes.
Yeah, those are the Hamites. We call them as like Hamites. Yeah.
Okay, now do the 3 groups get along?
Not as such.
No?
Not as such. Even the way they, let me give an example here at the hotel.
Okay.
If we were like a band, if you are to enter the hotel, you have some, you cannot enter easily.
Okay.
The way they look at us, it's like we are not in getting touch as such.
Okay. No, I think I'm getting a basic understanding as we're here in Uganda. All praises to the Most High. Anything you want to say to the people?
Uganda, this is our time. We Bantu people to come back to our heritage. We know that we are the people of the Bible. We are the Israelites. People can wake up and come back to their heritage. Shalom, family. Most time, first place.
And you know what's beautiful about that? See, I'm learning from him. So listen, I never said I know everything. So the basic 3 groups, I didn't know about that stuff. He's informing me. Now I can sit down and research it and go a little in depth on this stuff. So Israel, that's why the scripture says in 1 Peter 5 around verse 5, yea, all of you submit yourselves one to another.